Hey friends, it's Len here at 1A Auto. Today I'm working on a 2007 Hyundai Elantra. I'm going to show you how to do a front brake job. It's going to be a fairly easy job. I want to be the guy that shows you how to do it. If you need these or any other parts, you can always check us out at 1aauto.com. Thanks. Okay, so we're going to take off our 5 lug nuts here with a 21mm socket. There we are. Now we're going to continue taking off the other 4. Hold this on here. Take off our last lug nut. Hubcap. So here we go. We've got our 14mm. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this right here, and then we'll move along. There's one. We'll do the same to the top one. Just going to start this back in real quick, just so the caliper can't flop around, just in case. Bolt number 2. Perfect. Now we're clear to start getting this caliper off of here. So to remove the bleeder screw, I'm going to use a socket that looks like this. It's called a twisty socket. You can see that the inside there is like rifled. It's kind of twisted, okay? When I hammer on this socket onto the bleeder screw, it's going to twist, twist, twist. And then when I go to remove it, it's going to twist even more, gripping into the bleeder screw as much as I can, and hopefully turning it and breaking it free. That's my plan. Let's give it a try. Set it on there. Just going to take a little hammer. Make some noise. I'm going to use my ratchet. I'll put it on there. Just grab it real quick. So here we go. Just going to give it a couple little shakes here, see if I can break it free. I think we got it. Oh yeah, beautiful. Okay, so we know that's freed up. Just going to see if I can snug it. It's probably not going to work with the twisty socket. So there we go. I'm just going to plug it up. I'll grab a regular socket. Just get this snugged up again. That's going to be very useful for when it comes time to push this caliper back. When you push the caliper back, you always want to make sure that that bleeder screw is open. You don't want to force fluid back up through your lines, up through your ABS if you have ABS in your vehicle, which this one does. We have an ABS wire. And then of course up into the master cylinder. It'll just cause issues down the line, and why, pay an extra couple $1,000s to replace all that when all you have to do is just loosen this to push back your caliper. So we just, I opened this up just to make sure that it opens up. Now I'm gonna remove this. Grab my small pry bar. All right, I got my small pry bar. Just gonna see about getting that out of there. While we've got it off, we can take a peek. Make sure that there's no fluid coming out from in between here. Okay, that's your seal. This is your piston. It's the muscle of your brakes. While it's apart, you can also take a peek at your brake pads. These brake pads are extremely needed. They're separating right there. That's super dangerous. So I would definitely recommend replacing those if you're at this point and yours look anything like that. Caliper slider, that's frozen, so that would need servicing. This one's frozen. Same thing. So both those would need servicing at the same time. Boy, can of worms here. Anyway, let's move along. Get back. One of the next steps that we should do, grab a lug nut. Just put it on there a few threads. You don't have to put it on all the way or anything like that. That's just to help make it so if this rotor comes free, it doesn't fall down, hit you in the foot or your face if you're underneath the vehicle. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off these bracket bolts right here. They're 17mm. So you can use your ratchet or your air gun, whatever you've got, but it's 17. Bolt number 1, I'm gonna hold the bracket. Bolt number 2, take our bracket off. And there we are. So let's get this rotor off of here. I'm gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna take off my lug nut. There we are. Now we've removed the rotor. Here we are, friends, a quick product comparison for you. Over here, we have our old parts off of our 2007 Hyundai Elantra. We just pulled them apart. As you can tell, these are complete garbage. There's a reason why we're replacing them. Over here, we're gonna install some quality 1A Auto parts, okay? I just wanted to show you the comparison. As you can tell, the pads are the same exact size. That's always a plus, right? We got our little brake squealer on there. That lets us know when they're getting worn low. Right here, we'll just hold it right up. You can tell that the rotor's the same exact diameter. It's always key. The back side, Everything looks the exact same. You can get your cooling fins that run along here. They go right through the middle of the rotor, okay? 5 lug holes, very important. And here's all your cooling fins. So as you can tell, we have a quality part right here. I wouldn't feel bad installing this part into our vehicle, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. If you need this part or any other part, you can always check us out at 1aauto.com. Thanks. Okay, so we've got our caliper bracket off. Now it's time to get to the hard part. We're gonna take these pads off first. There's one. There's the other one. There's the pad that I wanted to show you. Look at that. This right here, super dangerous. I'll show you why. You're driving, vibrations, you're stepping on the brake, it's getting super hot. That just separated, easy peasy. You know what would happen then? This goes shooting out, possibly gets stuck in between your rotor and your, in your bracket, or even worse, this piece of metal right here, right? That's gonna start hitting up against your rotor as it's coming around. If you step on your brake again, this gets pushed into the middle here, and then it gets jammed in between your rotor and your caliper bracket. Now you're gonna have a real issue. This wheel's gonna lock up, and you're gonna be finding yourself somewhere on the side of the road, hopefully safely, but on the side of the road. So, if you ever see a pad that's coming apart like that, please just replace it. So we got our tins off. There's nothing special about these tins, okay? You don't have to worry about mixing them up. Oh no, we'll just set those aside. Now what we're gonna do, because these are frozen, this is moving a little bit, this one's moving not at all. I'm putting a little bit of penetrant. I'm gonna watch my eyes. I'm wearing hand protection, eye protection. You don't want any of this in your eyes or on your skin, okay? Be safe. Safety first is the #1 concern here at 1A Auto. We want to show you how to do it, but we also want you to be safe. Just work this around, okay? These boots right here, they kind of go inside, and what's going to hold it inside the bracket there is actually the caliper slider. So I'll see if I can get this one out, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to grab some pliers, and we'll come right back. So I went and I grabbed some pliers. I'm going to take my small screwdriver, just like I did the other side, try to get it in there. Spray it. I'm going to let the penetrant do its job. I'm going to work it around a little bit here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use my pliers. Grab onto this. I'm going to see if I can pull it out. Get the boot off of there. There we are. Okay. This right here. Grab a rag. This right here is a vibration dampening boot. It's a little piece of rubber. If yours is missing or swollen or damaged, you're going to want to replace that. You can usually get these separate. Right here, this is a little channel where the outside of this boot rides. Okay? So if this channel's all, munged up, or if it's got a whole bunch of rust or anything in there, you're going to want to make sure you clean that up. It's always a good habit to clean it up. And also, of course, put a little bit of lubricant in there. That'll help keep moisture out and keep this moving freely so you don't get something like this down the line. Okay? So I'm going to show you how this boot comes out. I'm going to stick my little pocket screwdriver in here and pull it out. So there's a little lip right here, comes out. There's a little lip inside this caliper bracket where that sits into. So that's what's causing this to not come out. It's got a little lip there, and when the slider's in, it's causing the boot to stay stuck up inside the caliper bracket. So what we're going to do now, we've got this all nice and sitting in there, okay? The penetrant, it's sitting in there. It's hopefully doing its job. I'll just put in one more little squirt. More the merrier. There we are. Let it do its job. Okay. So here's something that we can try to do. If we wanted to, we could try to apply a little bit of heat down around this area, because essentially this is what you're looking at except inside, okay? All inside this area, or this hole I guess you'd say, except on the other side, right? It's all rusted up and it's causing this pin to be frozen. So the pin can't do its thing. Normally it's supposed to be able to slide. It's called a caliper slider. This can't slide. Hey, it can't even turn really. That's really bad. So there's something in there that's blocking it up, probably some rust or whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply a little bit of heat here, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna try to help get some of that penetrant deep down inside there. I don't want to go so hot that I'm going to melt the rubber boot, okay? Unless you got extra boots. If you got extra boots, well, you do you, boo-boo. But I don't personally, so I'm just going to try to heat down here, get it hot so it works this way, and it's going to try to soak all that penetrant down in. So here we go. I've got my little butane torch, all right? I'm going to move my pad. We don't necessarily need to work on something that might be flammable, right? I'm just going to heat it up right here. Let's hold it up. Okay, it's nice and warm now. I'm gonna let that try to soak in some of that penetrant. We'll give it maybe a minute or so, and we'll come back to it. Take some pliers, or even pliers, whatever you got. Pliers. Just gonna grab onto it, see if I can give it a little spin. Oh, here we go. Feels like it's getting easier now. Okay, maybe I could try my smaller pliers now. Nice, I like it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a socket that fits this, and I'll use that to turn this. It'll be even easier. This is just helping getting the penetrant working in there. I know it's not unscrewing anything. I'll have to put that in the comments, but below there. Now I'm just trying to grab it, twist, and pull. There we are. Nice and warm. Can feel it. Wipe it off. Okay. As you can tell, this isn't really in the poorest of conditions, so I'm not really super worried about it. I would like to clean it up though. I'll take it to a wire wheel. I'll get that all nice and cleaned up. First we'll get the boot off of here. There we are. Take a look at these. Make sure they're not ripped or torn or anything like that. If they're ripped, obviously, you'd want to replace them. It's not going to keep anything out of there. Both those look good. Awesome. I'm going to get these cleaned up real quick with the wire brush or a wire wheel, whatever you've got. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you how to clean this up. Okay, so now it's time to clean up this caliper bracket. Inside here, there's holes, right? And this is where these slide. They're supposed to go in there, slide nice and free. I can barely get this in there. All right, I want to try to clean these out. I'm going to use something like this. It's called a bore brush. Okay, just a whole bunch of little pricklies. I got my little collection bucket, my safety glasses, of course, hand protection. I'm using a chemical. I'm going to use some parts cleaner. It's aerosol based, so as I spray in, it's going to be trying to spray stuff out. So you want to make sure you're wearing safety glasses and hand protection and keep your mouth closed. There we are. So I've got plenty in there now. Use my bore brush. I'm just going to go in like this. Apparently this thing's on turbo today. You can do that as long as you like. I could probably go for days and it'll probably still be cleaning it out. As you can tell, everything's pretty rusted, so it's definitely doing its job. Let's do this one real quick. Make sure if you get any parts cleaner on your hands, you have your hands nice and clean. You want to rinse it off ASAP, super important. You can use something like a little hose if you want on these. A lot of them come with it. Just gives you a little bit more direct fire. There we are. Once again, I'm going to watch out for my eyes. Okay, shake this out. So now let's clean out these rubber boots, right? We got to get all that cruddy stuff out of there. I'm just going to take a rag, try to put it all the way through if I can. Pull it out. maybe. There we go. Now I'm just gonna stretch my boot. I'm just gonna go like this on it. Try to work the rag around all the grooves in my boot. Take a peek inside. Looks pretty great to me. We'll do the same to the other one. All right, so now it's time to clean up the bracket. Where we're gonna clean is where these tins go on, okay? And that's also where the pad's gonna ride. So you wanna make sure you don't have any rot or rust buildup where those tins are supposed to be. We're gonna make a nice metally, nice metal color there. Get rid of all the rust. We want it to be nice and clean. I'm gonna use this quality tool right here. It's a performance tool. It's available at 1aauto.com, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and skim this. Wearing my safety glasses and hand protection, of course. So now it's time to clean up our tins, okay? Hold it over your recycling receptacle, give it a little spray. That soak in, do both sides if you want. Now you can use something like sandpaper, okay? Could use a brush. You can do whatever you want. You just need this to be clean, okay? So you do you, boo-boo. So we've got our tins cleaned up pretty good. They look decent enough, no big chunks, a little discoloration, but I'm not really worried about that. Next, what you want to do is you want to put some sort of like anti-vibration lubricant behind here. So now I'm just going to use a little bit of brake caliper lubricant here, something kind of high temperature. So, you know, when you step on the brakes, it creates friction. That's how you stop. Friction creates heat. So you want something that's not going to liquefy under heat. You know, like if you tried using Vaseline or something like that. That's just going to basically turn almost to water and then liquefy and get in between your pads and your rotors and probably cause friction issues. So I like to go with something like that. Now we're going to put on our tins, just like this, okay? It's important to know that you don't need to have any of that lubricant on the outside here where the pads ride on your tins. This is supposed to be nice and dry, nice and clean. The reason for that is because if you did decide to put on some kind of stuff like this, and then dirt and debris and whatever you're driving on down the road gets in between there, it could cause your pads to get stuck, right? So we don't want that. We don't want to be doing this brake job again in 10,000 miles or something. So that looks good the way it is. We have our sliders. We have our slider boots. Let's get those put in. So now I'm going to use some more of my brake caliper lube. Just going to go ahead and put it in here. Get everything nice and lubricated. Now I'm going to take my boot. I'm going to start it in on one corner. Just kind of work it in. You can use your little screwdriver if you have one and if you want to use it. Put my tin back on there. Just work it around. It's in its groove. It's not coming off. We've got our caliper slider. Let's make sure that's lubricated. It's important to remember that I showed you that little groove right there. That's where this boot rides on. So I like to put a little bit of grease up in there. I don't need to get it all the way around the channel because I'll show you why. I'm just going to take this, I'm going to slide it in, and I'm going to rotate it. Rotate it as I go. It's going to get the lubricant all worked in there. Now I'm going to keep rotating. All that stuff that I put in that one little spot in that groove just worked its way around that whole boot. There's going to be no water getting past that. Booyah. Now let's do the same to this side. Right back here is where our backing plate's supposed to be. So you can imagine that there is one. If there was one, you'd want to make sure that there isn't a whole bunch of rust flaking up on it, okay? If there is, it could hit up against your rotor or fall down between your rotor and your hub here, which could cause issues down the line. So just make sure that it's nice and clean. You got off all the rust that might flake off, cause an issue. There's not too much left of this particular vehicle. What we want to do now is clean up this hub. Right here, there's a broken bolt. Those bolts are, generally speaking, hold your rotor on so they don't wobble around while you're working. All right, it's broken, it's missing, it is what it is. I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up. So I'm going to use my performance tool right here, my little blade, or sanding disc. I'm going to get this hub nice and cleaned up all the way around, wearing my safety glasses, of course, and then we'll continue. So I've got the hub all nice and cleaned up, right? As much as I could with that nice sanding disc that I had. The only problem is I can't get behind the lug studs here and the hub. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of parts cleaner, my little scrubby brush. I got my receptacle down there and safety glasses on, of course. I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up. Give it a little scrub. Here we are. Now I'm going to blast it again, standing back. Awesome. Now what we can do is wait for it to dry, then we're going to put on some never sees, and then the rotor. So it's always important to clean off your rotor before you go ahead and install it. When it's being packaged, it's coated with a special film, helps prevent it from, corroding or rusting or whatever, just during shipping and hanging out on the shelf waiting for you to go ahead and buy it. So I just spray a little bit of parts cleaner right onto my rag, give it a little scrub. That's nice. Perfect. Let's go ahead and install this. So here we are. We've got a nice clean hub. We're going to go ahead and put on a little bit of copper never sees. It's going to go in between the hub and the rotor. That looks pretty great. We'll take our rotor, get right on there. Take my lug nut. I'm going to try to put it on here as far as I can. Hopefully this will help keep the rotor from moving around too much and or falling down and hitting my foot while I'm working, right? Safety. So now we're going to go ahead and install our caliper bracket with our 2 caliper bolts. If you were going to use something on these bolts, it's important to remember that you want to use thread locker and not never sees. Some people have been known to use never sees, and I don't know, I'd say it's kind of a rookie mistake, only because for me personally, I'd like for these brake caliper bolts to not come off without a little bit of force rather than come off very easy because, it's my brakes. So you can go with something like a little bit of thread locker or nothing, whatever you want to do. Either way, there is a torque specification for these. It's 72 foot-pounds. I'm just putting on a little bit of thread locker because that's how I roll. I'll get my bracket here. The tins might fall off while I'm doing this. It's okay, I'll just put them back on. I'm really not worried about it. Ooh, there we go. There's one. Here we are. Got both of these started. I'm going to go ahead and bottom them out, and then I will torque them down. 72 foot-pounds with my 17mm socket. So here we are. I'm going to torque these down. 72 foot-pounds. There's one. Get this off of here. Do the same to the other one, hopefully. There we are. Nice and tight. Those are going nowhere. Now we'll go ahead, we'll push back that caliper. We'll get the piston nice and ready so we can slide it over our brand new pads once we get those on. And we'll keep on rolling. Okay, we've got our caliper up here. I've got some hose crimpers. Just gonna put these on, give them a little squeeze. That's nice. I've got my recycling receptacle, 10mm. Just gonna pop this free, just like that. Got a little bit of fluid coming out, so we know that the bleeder screws opened up. That's nice. Sometimes you'll open them and they'll still be plugged up, in which case you want to take it completely out and clean it, because what we do not want to do is force any fluid back up this line and into your ABS unit. So that's what this is going to help with as well. Little clampies for your hose. Okay, I'm going to get my clamp ready here. Now all I'm going to do is try to squeeze this piston. I'm going to try to push it back up into the caliper. I'm just going to go nice and slow. Feels like we're pretty much there now. Get this off of here. I'm gonna give the fluid a second to make its way down and through, and then push any air that it might have went up in, on out, and then down my line. So I'll get my wrench ready, 10mm. Pull this off of here. We've got fluid coming out. It's a good sign. snug that up. I'm gonna be taking it back off in a minute, or loosening it back up, I should say. So we don't need to worry about super tightening it down yet. Just get all my fluid down the line. All right, now I'm gonna clean this off a little bit so I don't want brake fluid getting all over my hands while I work. So we're gonna take our brake pads. The one with the squealer goes on the back side, or the piston side, and it also goes facing down, okay? So if you've got one with the squealer facing up, well, just switch it out with the other side. We'll get that on there. Do the same for the front. Just hold them in as we go here. I just want to show you, I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant here. It's going to help with vibration dampening, noise driving down the road and whatnot. Just along the piston there, and then along the little fork sides. You don't really need it anywhere else, so don't waste your time or money. Okay, slide that right on there. We've got our 2 caliper, 2 bracket bolts. You can use thread locker if you'd like. It's your prerogative. Just don't use never sees, please. Get that started in. Get this one started in. Once they're both started, we'll go ahead and tighten them up. There is a torque specification, so all I'm going to do is bottom it out. There we are. Let's grab the torque spec. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and torque these down. I just want to let you know that the caliper slider heads themselves is a 17, okay? So if you find it that the caliper slider is spinning when you're trying to torque or tighten it down, you can just go ahead and use the 17 and it should be fine. Drop it on the floor, it likes it there. Okay, one more time. Sometimes your wrench might be a little bit thick, like mine. So if that's the case, well, you're gonna have to figure it out. Could also try to use some locking pliers in there if they're a little thinner for you. Okay, hit it one more time here. There we are. So 23, 23. Okay, now that we've got this all together, the next thing that you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna go up inside the vehicle, pump up the brake 3 to 5 times, nice and slow. You don't wanna jam on it, okay? Just nice and slow. 1, 2, 3 to 5 times, okay? After that, you can come on out here. You're just gonna open this up, and when you're watching the fluid, you wanna see a nice slow drizzle of only brake fluid, okay? If you see little air bubbles coming out, that's good, because that means you're burping out any air that might be stuck inside there, but you need to wait till all that air comes out, then you close it off. Once you're at that point, you clean it down, you go up top, make sure you top off your brake fluid with whatever fluid it's supposed to be, and then, yeah, that's it. Make sure it's nice and clean. You're safe to go down the road. Time to get the wheel back up on here. Just gonna go ahead and lift it up. Center cover, hubcap, whatever you want to call it. We're just gonna bottom these out with our 21mm socket, our long ratchet. Once they're all bottomed out, we'll bring it down on the ground and torque them up. So now we're gonna go ahead and torque these down with our 21mm to 80 foot-pounds. We're gonna do a star pattern, okay? One here, 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 here. I'm just gonna go around.
Thanks for watching. Visit 1aauto.com for quality auto parts shipped to your door, the place for DIY auto repair. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button.